drinks. There you go.
Q&A. Hello. I as well like to welcome all of you on stage. And I guess most of you are interested about what's new and what's upcoming with the next hard fork. So this is probably a topic where many people already think about. So is there already a date, Gandalf?
Yes.
Lovely. There is a date, so there will be a date for the hard fork. But next question would be, do you know the date?
Yes.
It works, it works. Are you able to tell us the date?
Yes.
Ooh.
Yes, a lot of positive.
Yeah, now it's your turn.
Oh, I thought that you have 3 questions only.
No, it's your turn to tell the date.
Okay, it will be in February 19. Oh, November 19.
So November 19.
Yes, this year.
This year? Really?
Yes.
Okay. Which brings me actually to my next question. How do you know that this don't blow up the blockchain?
We don't. We hope that it won't, and we tested it a few times. I already had a hard fork 28 on the MirrorNet a few times. I think it was 5 or 6, and it works so far.
So no blow up?
No, not yet.
Let us ask Blocktrades as well.
So I did not test it on the MirrorNet, just him. So if anything goes wrong, it's his fault.
So we know how to kick somebody's if it's not working.
We decentralize responsibility.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah. A little bit more details. What is in that package? Maybe I ask Blocktrades first.
Oh, yeah. Well, the answer is it's a lot of small things mostly. So that's why it's a hard question to answer. A lot of things were just fixing small problems that we've identified over the years. In terms of, I think, features that, one that most people will notice would be the feature that changes how the voting's done a little bit, which right now when you vote, first vote you do at full power, and if you do like another vote after that, you might notice you reward a little bit less. That's because you start, it's slowly, as you vote more, you slowly temporarily lose your voting power, and then of course it refills. So in the new system, you'll be able to vote the same power until you run out.
Oh, that's nice.
So it'll feel more intuitive to normal people that they wouldn't expect that the first vote would be a lot and then the second vote is less. So now
it's always a pleasure to explain this to people who are coming from Web 2, that your second vote is different as the first. Nice change.
The other change, which won't be noticed by as many people, but maybe is probably the most important change in a way, is right now when you publish a transaction, you have to publish it within a certain time window. And if you wait too long, the transaction will expire. And the easiest way to do it was if you publish the transaction within 1 hour of when you sign it, it's going to be okay. There are ways to make it where you could do it longer. So you could actually do it up to, you could have the transaction be published up to a day later. But the problem was you could only do it still with only 1 hour window up to a day later. So you had to pick the time ahead of time. So you could say, oh, we're going to publish it 12 hours from now. But you couldn't publish it, say, 5 hours from now. So the new change will allow you to publish it anywhere during a day. And so the reason this comes in handy, you might say, well, I just vote and it happens immediately. That's fine as long as you're the only person who has to sign the transaction. But when you get into transactions where a bunch of people have to agree to sign it, basically multi-sig transactions, and these happen a lot when there's like a pool of funds that are controlled by owned by several people, and you don't want one person to be able to take all the money and walk away with it. Then there's multi-sig issue, and multiple people have to say, yeah, this is a valid. And then you have to take time to get enough people to agree to sign it. And so getting everybody to do something within an hour's time, especially the more people that need to assign it, that gets more and more difficult. So 1 day we think is pretty reasonable.
Okay, let us think or discuss a bit more about other maybe highlight features from hard fork 18?
So
28.
he's got the cheat
Everybody's
sheet.
looking at me.
Yeah, it's a lot. But mostly those are like tiny changes because we consider Hive being awesome as it is. And we actually just polish rough edges.
That was
so
polish, not Polish.
polish, yes, yeah, I think both.
The Polish team polished some rough edges.
Yes.
Correct.
Fine, we can handle this. So what you say, with other words, is Hive is already quite good.
So it's actually more complicated than that. The issue is that when we started Hive, we knew we didn't want to make changes that break things easily, but we had a lot of changes we wanted to make. So our idea was to get away from having a system where we could make changes easily without breaking things. So whenever you do a hard fork, that's when you can break things. So we tried to change the development environment so that as much as possible, we can make big changes that offer new features, but that don't have the chance to break things. So that's where we're at nowadays. Most of the work we do is not hard fork related. That's a very small amount of the programming. Most of the programming doesn't require a hard fork.
Okay, before we come to other topics, Krim, how frightened are you that the hard fork is not working?
I am not frightened at all because all of you guys may know by now that we have not actually had any chain stoppage and we've never actually had a hard fork issue since becoming Hive, which is a pretty awesome achievement because if you remember with the legacy chain, we did have a few speed bumps while it was under control by our friends at our centralized entity, Inc. So no, I'm not worried about it at all. But what they've touched on, honestly, is a lot about the features that will be coming in this hard fork are specifically really about quality of life, especially for people who want to come and develop on Hive or who are building tools on Hive. So they feel small in the scheme of things. Wow, sorry, this is all over the place. They feel small in the scheme of things, but a lot of them will really help our builders and outside builders come in and do more. And so when you're talking about things like the multi-sig extension, that actually ties into what Clay was talking about earlier. SPS DAO is a great example. They are managing a ton of funds. They are part of Hive's expansion efforts. They are also managing a huge multi-sig. So you're going to see a lot of the features that do come out in these hard forks are directly related to solving problems that builders have right now that will allow them to do more with the Hive stack. And that's honestly what we need at this point is the developer relations, the tools for new dApps, the tools for cool sites and services that make it a little bit easier to keep taking that Hive brand out further.
Talking about builders, are there any specific topics where you say this feature makes it way more easy for builders? We saw a few things from the B devs, but there's maybe something else you like to point to? I better don't ask Gandalf first.
Actually, most of the things that we are doing is to make life easier for developers because then there will be more apps and then there will be more users. So that's actually priority one. And for most of the changes that we are doing, we don't really need hard fork. Hard fork is just, well, maintenance. Of course, there are pretty nice features like the multi-sig improvements. But most of the development is going rapidly forward without waiting for the hard fork because it doesn't need that.
To run a node on a Raspberry Pi, is this something where we need the hard fork for, or is it already possible?
No, it's already done.
Okay, for what do we need the hard fork?
So you need a hard fork whenever you change the rules. So there's certain things that the rules fix. So like signing things, for instance. If you, block size, no. We actually have...
Go through your list. You have a whole list of what's on the hard fork.
No, it's long and boring and complicated.
Yeah, it's not even the block size, honestly. You can change the block size now. All we did was
just
it was
tiny
we
tiny
fixed
fix.
there was a problem where it wasn't, you could theoretically, all the witnesses could say, let's make a block that's too big, and things would have broke.
Don't do that.
So we made a new rule that says they can't do that anymore. So it's very minor. No one's going to notice it, you know, except the witnesses, and maybe not most of them even.
Okay, carefully. Let's talk about some other new things here. We heard about light accounts, and Gandalf, anything you like to talk about light accounts?
I have no idea about current development stage of light accounts.
Okay, so I like to ask Blocktrades about that.
So light accounts, coding-wise, is just about that much. But the ideas are fully fleshed out. So the idea, first of all, let's talk about what light accounts are. The light accounts are a way to handle accounts at the second layer. So as you guys are probably pretty well aware, one of the things when we started Hive, we wanted to get everything as much as possible off the first layer onto the second layer. That's along the same lines that we don't need hard forks anymore for the most part. Everything, every change we make, every time we add a new feature, it's a second layer feature, so we don't need to touch the first layer. Along with that, we wanted to have the ability to create accounts that are, say, cheaper, and somebody could say, hey, if we want to get lots and lots of people, which is, of course, one of the major goals eventually, we need a way to create lots of accounts that aren't so heavy. And that's what light accounts are. They're light accounts in the literal sense. And for instance, if you want to onboard somebody quickly and you don't want them to have to deal with remembering to save off their keys because they lose their keys, they lose everything, they lose their identity, light accounts will be able to allow you to do things like, well, sir, you can get second layer keys. That's good. But before you even do that, if you have a Google account, if you have a Facebook account, you'll be able to create a light account that works on Hive. And later, if you decide you would like, and you could use it to say post, you could play a game on Hive, or you could post a blog, you could have a blog on Hive with a light account, and you have no keys at all. You just have your social.
This sounds to my ears onboarding.
Yes, it's very much about onboarding. But it's also beyond onboarding, it's also, nice thing about your Hive account is you can go from one place to another. But light accounts to date haven't been like you could take them from one app to another. So the whole idea behind the light accounts we're making, it's like a universal light account that every app can, if you create it, you can create it initially one app, say you start playing a game or something like that, and later you can transport it anywhere in the Hive ecosystem. So it's, and if you want, you can then convert it into effectively a real Hive account. So
it's something like a starter account with limited access, and it's related to whatever world mapping, for example, where we have no users using
exactly.
it, or maybe Splinterlands test users or first users who play just the game, not other things on a blockchain.
That's right. And there's another feature to it too, which is we're going to allow custom authorities. So the authorities you're probably aware of now is you have your posting authority, which allows you to say things. You have your active authority, which allows you to spend money. And you have your owner authority, which allows you to change your keys, right? But this will allow games and apps to create their own special authorities that have special abilities just in their own ecosystem. So for instance, you might have a game key, and then if a couple of games decide to adapt it, that key could only be used for playing games, but it can't be used for nothing else, right? So it's a safety factor for them. They don't, if you lose that key, you won't lose your money. You don't even lose your posting rights, so somebody can't impersonate you. They can just play the game, that's it.
Sounds logical.
Oh, so actually one more hard fork feature that I guess I'll mention because that made me think about it. One of the things that was kind of it's been there since the beginning of Hive and before, was that you could use your higher level keys to do lower level actions. That introduces a security problem because somebody's app might let you enter a very powerful key to do simple things, which is dangerous because then that powerful key could be taken from you. Somebody could leak it and use it and steal your account. We're changing the rules now so that you won't be able to use a higher key to do lower level actions. If you'll do a lower level action, you have to use the lower level key. So that it's a security thing. If you're going to post, you can only use your posting key. You can't use your money key. And so if you try to put that in, it'll say, it doesn't work.
So this is part of all the little changes inside the
little
hard fork.
changes, but the kind of changes that can prevent people from losing all their money.
Do you think people will have some misunderstanding with this after introduction?
The point is it'll be quite obvious right away. Oh, you're going to answer the question.
I was just going to say, this is one of the parts of, how these changes trickle down through our projects and our ecosystem. So in a lot of cases, people that are coming in through a dApp or are using something like Keychain, which is the option, a lot of this will be abstracted away. These solutions will handle, but they will have the safe handling that it's given to them by what's being changed inside the blockchain, right? So these changes that are saying, okay, these are the keys I need, the user isn't necessarily going to see that because they're using something fabulous like Keychain, which will just use what needs to happen. I mean, ideally, everything comes back to abstraction. We are going to take away a lot of the complexity. The fact that we have such an awesome tiered authority system is great. It takes away a lot of the danger that is inherent with the social connection in blockchain and wallets. But our job now is to package that and to make sure that there is none of that confusion that comes with a gigantic list of keys. And in this case, you've got outside dApps that are creating new authorities. These are not even something that, CoreDev knows what it's going to be yet. You're not going to see it until the dApps and the projects have actually defined what it looks like. So abstraction is going to be the name of the game, and that's basically what's going to hopefully make up for the confusion. We need to get a bit better at that. And again, it comes back to build the tools so that the people who are front-facing, client-facing, customer-facing, service-facing, they are able to do it well, easily, tuck all the nasty stuff behind the scenes, and it just works automatically.
Which brings me to the topic of how easy is it to integrate this feature into the front-end apps of games or whatever apps we have.
So the tools that we are building, it's not only to make it simpler for end users, that you don't have to understand all those boring stuff that we are talking about, but also for developers, that they don't need to be experts in Hive app development. They can just use Wax, and Wax will walk them through at the higher abstraction level.
Yeah, so there's a couple ways we're doing that. So one of the things is, he mentioned Wax is the library we've been developing. Another one is Swagger. You probably heard of the BDEV, but unfortunately a lot of people probably have no idea what Swagger is. So I'll try to describe it briefly. It's like you can go to a web page as a programmer or even a regular person, and you see a function call. It's like get account. And you see that's a function that you can call, and it tells you what numbers you can put in. Like you put the name of your account, you put in any other information that particular call wants, and you press a button, and you can see the results, what the output of that function call is in real time. So if you don't know what a function does, you don't have to read a bunch of documentation about it. You just try it. And this is really great for programmers. They don't want to read pages and pages of documentation. They just want to try something and see if it works and what the output is. So now you can find very quickly how what kind of information you can get and what kind of information you need to provide in order to get that information. That's what the Swagger documentation gives. It's like living documentation, it's interactive documentation.
So you have access to the documentation while you are coding, and in this moment where you use a function, it automatically shows what you have to add into it.
And it'll show you the results, so you can see what the results are going to be. Visually, you'll just,
Yeah, cool. So programmers will like it.
Yes.
Anything else regarding new stuff from the back end?
So the other big back-end thing we've been doing is adding new API calls. So the Swagger basically documents these API calls. API calls are things you can do to get information or have things happen in the blockchain. Mostly it's about getting information from the blockchain. So we're adding new types of information that you can get that wasn't available before. And the whole idea about what we call the Hive framework is a way that anybody can create these new API calls. So back in the old days, basically only the core team could add new API calls. And that's problematic because first of all, they can break things if everybody just jumps in and works in the core code. So the whole idea here was to abstract out that kind of work so that first of all, it doesn't break anything. The second thing is, when you're making API calls, getting data from the blockchain, there's a lot of data in our blockchain. It's quite big, and it grows very rapidly. So you need API calls that are quick. You don't want to make an API call and wait 10 minutes before you get an answer to your question. So with the Hive framework, we're developing basically an environment and a way to create your apps and create your APIs in such a way that they just tend to be fast by nature. And it's also, now it's become a thing, I'll mention the AI word, it's also useful to have a framework that's very easy for AIs to query data and get data. So, because basically nowadays we're using more and more AI to actually help us write the code itself. And if you're using with Hive, that makes it fairly easy because it's SQL based, and AI likes SQL. I'll just say that.
Krim, thinking into direction of new development, you are on many stages. What is what the people are demanding?
That's a loaded question.
I know.
Yeah, I know. Okay. So, I mean, I don't know that this 100% falls under the scope of CoreDev, but in most cases, my job is to go out and take what they're doing and connect it to these things that people want to build, these metas that they are coming up with. And you know, I had actually prepared a talk for today, and then the schedule filled up. But a lot of it comes down to, we're obviously seeing a big privacy meta right now. And there's also the idea of zero knowledge proofs, and these are everywhere right now as we're talking about how do we move data around privately. Well, obviously, Hive is kind of the opposite of that. You have the ability to be anonymous on Hive. That's important. You create this identity, but that identity is comprised of public transactions, things that you voluntarily want other people to know and to be associated with you. And so there's a really interesting intersect between this, where we want money and transactions to be private, but we are desperate for social proof. And there are many up and coming people who are trying to solve this in terms of sharing social identity with governments, with nation states. But when we are talking about communities, no other blockchain has done a good job with this. And the more that I travel and the more that I talk to people out here and the more I see how other chains are handling it, their communities are often considered the people on crypto Twitter. They are the farmers, and there's nothing wrong with that. But when people ask me, how the hell is Hive still growing? How are you guys still here? Like, oh my gosh. And the reality is it's because our community is made up of real social identities, and all of the ways that we interact with the chain, all of the things that we do, blogging, gaming, everything, comes back down to real people, and very much different from what's happening in the agentic world right now. These fake bots, the dead internet theory, our little corner of Hive, even where AI is touching it, is still very, very alive. And so what we're starting to see, good Lord, I'm sorry. What we're starting to see, basically, to come back to this question, is other chains are now looking at ways not just to incentivize people, but to encourage people to act human. And that is really, really difficult, and we are very, very good at that. And so for me, a lot of what I'm seeing now is how do I take everything that's being built here, how do I connect it to people in other chains, other projects, developers who are building? I don't want to take them away from what they're doing, but I want to give them this open source stack that is proven to be so good at encouraging human interaction and building that into other ecosystems. And people are excited about it.
So things like you mentioned Swagger and other stuff makes it way more easy for a typical developer to use it. Okay, which brings me to the question part. Is there anybody with a question for us, for them, maybe for Gandalf, with something more than a yes or a no? Take my microphone.
Yes. All right, Soren. Welcome.
Thank you. Oops. I'm sorry. Too close. I have a question about the multi-sig. So we are operating multi-sig as well, not as big as SPS DAO, but still. So we create multi-sig transactions, and the way I see it, we rely on the multisig server. Is the multisig server that I understood is like operated by StudKev? The multisig server is not, it's something that is aside from the blockchain. It's not, how can we operate the multisig, a multisig operation without the multisig server that relays the partly signed transactions?
Yeah, that's a good question. So just to explain this, the idea is in order to get a transaction multi-signed, you have to basically take that transaction, one guy has to sign it, then you have to hand it to somebody else, and they have to sign it. So the question he's asking is, how do you get a transaction and pass it around among all the people who need to sign it, some number of them. And so at the blockchain level, the blockchain doesn't do this. Right now, you have to choose your own method to get that transaction from one person to another. You could send an email, you could sign it, then send the email of the partially signed transaction to someone else and they can sign it. So any method can be used. The server he's talking about is basically a server where people sign it, stick it on the server, and then somebody grabs it and signs it, so on. So it's possible that we could use the peer-to-peer layer of Hive D itself to do it. So we did this in BitShares, in fact. So it's quite, but what I mean here is it's the nodes, you would publish a partially signed transaction, and the nodes could just keep it passing around the network so anybody could grab it, sign it, and then stick it back on the network. So that could be done, but right now it's out of band. It's not done. You have to manage it yourself.
Well, off-chain, but you can actually post it as a post.
Sure, you could post it. Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's quite true.
Thank you.
So one more thing I'll mention about that, though. The downside to that is that in BitShares, there was a case where people would create these partially signed transactions, and it showed up in the user interfaces as a thing that you could sign. So they would send these partially signed transactions to people, and people would just sign them. And that transaction would then take their money and send it to somebody else. So you have to be a little bit careful when you create this kind of multi-sig interface.
Do we have other questions for this gentleman and ladies here on stage?
Yeah, I have a question about the light accounts, just to make sure I'm understanding, because this is definitely something that could be leveraged by Splinterlands, I'm pretty sure. Are light accounts going to be able to actually own Hive, or will they basically just be like a layer to interact with the blockchain without actually owning tokens?
So they will not be able to own Hive directly. They can own a wrap token. So basically, you can do anything at second layer, but you can't do anything at first layer. The only way you can interact at the first layer, in fact, is to have some first layer account help you. So there'll be first layer accounts like for games, apps, world mapping, for instance, that could then publish your transaction for you. You signed with your second layer key, so that still you still control whether that account, they can't pretend to be you, but they have to proxy they spend their RC, their resource credits, in order to allow you to put your information into the blockchain. One other thing I was going to say about the layer 2 stuff that I hadn't really mentioned. So I've talked about the signing the keys and things like that. So you can start with an account that's just a social account. It doesn't have keys. And then later, if you want to get keys for it, you can. And that's at the point, say you wanted to actually be able to spend second layer tokens. And then if you wanted to go to the first layer, you would actually convert that account into a first layer account, basically pay for an account at that point. So it is a process by which you can, move from very light, almost nothing, to having full Hive account.
Okay, yeah, it definitely sounds interesting. It's like we kind of do something similar already, but being able to do it at the chain level, I think, would be a really good advancement. So that's awesome to hear. Yeah,
so part of that is it's going to be like a common light account, right? The light account that spans any apps can adopt it. It's going to be very fast. It's designed to match the same key signing structure that we have at the base layer, so it has all those capabilities. There's something else I keep forgetting about it that I want to tell you, but I can't remember what it is.
You're going to remember it in 56 seconds.
So which brings us to one last question from whom? The microphone is coming.
So while he's coming, I just remember the other thing. So along with the light accounts, we're also introducing something called second layer transactions. So a transaction is when you group a bunch of things, operations, into one thing. And so you say, I'm going to move some money, I'm going to do this, I'm going to vote on this thing, and all those things have to succeed. If any of them fails, the whole transaction fails. So this is a way that you can make an atomic set of changes. Right now, we only have that at the first layer. So we're going to support atomic transaction, multiple lists of operations that can be done at second layer. And this will be useful for apps that run at the second layer. They'll have the same kind of capabilities. That we don't have that really right now.
Okay. We have bitter irony.
Yes, my first question is, will there be a movie about this hard fork? Because that was awesome.
No.
No, okay, great. Second question, and this is a callback to the Splinterlands presentation. It was like the second bullet on the last slide. Oh, you'll be able to buy Hive on Coinbase. That was a bit burying the lead for me. I wanted to stand up and cheer, and I know Krim has talked before about the difficulties of getting Hive onto these major chains. Do we have a date for that? Like, what's the time frame? Because I had to drop a dirty bag of fiat outside Roland's door to get these tickets, so.
Yeah. So, I mean, Clay's in the background going, "Ah!" Realistically, if we're talking about these bridges, they are live. So that's what he was actually saying is, so these bridges that the SPS DAO and Splinterlands have worked on, this is an extension of the work that they initially did to get SPS out there. So now we have Hive, HBD is coming, it'll be Ethereum, Base, BNB. So that wasn't me this time. So long story short is yes, like these bridges are live. What happens now is getting this wrapped Hive listed on the scanners so they're picked up and then they are carried through. So technically it has happened already. You can go to Coinbase right now and buy wrapped Hive. I think AzerCon did the other night. So that's good, it's happening. But so there's two sort of avenues here. Obviously wrapped Hive is one, and that will be across all these chains. That becomes possible for DeFi. It goes into aggregators. We have these bridges that will get liquidity, all of that. And then there are native listings for Coinbase. And so that was another thing that Clay was talking about, and we definitely don't have enough time to dip into it just here. But native listings are still very tricky with centralized exchanges, which is why these bridges, wrapping Hive and working in that direction is so much more important for us as a free and decentralized system. Both are good, but if the question is simply, holy heck, I want to go try this out on Coinbase right now, you technically can go do that. However, we've got more work to do because this is so smoke and brand new and you're all literally just hearing about it now. We've got more work to do to get these contracts verified, to get them attached to Hive.io, to get them spread out across all the aggregators, and then our next job will be going out to DEXs and getting those basically in all our favorite DEXs. So more work to do, but exciting work nonetheless.
Great. Thanks.
Oh, it was you. All right, well, okay, so I'm gonna wrap us up here. We did go a little bit over, so we're done with questions for this part of the panel. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Detlev. Always good at directing the conversation, especially when we have a wizard of few words. He speaks exactly when he means to. So I'm not sure where we're at in the schedule, but I see Roland is coming on up here, and he's gonna let you guys know what's coming up next. So a round of applause for the brave core team here.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.